On March the 25th of 2024, deputies from the Flagler County Sheriff's Office were called to a Walmart in Palm Coast, Florida, after a woman had left the store with over $1,000 worth of unpaid items in her shopping cart. Body cam footage would show an officer approaching Amber Macan and telling her that they were investigating the theft. The cop said, apparently, someone walked out with and didn't get a chance to finish his thought before Macan nonchalantly replied, "A cart? Yeah, that's me." The 30-year-old woman told the police that she'd been playing a game called 21 that involved her placing as many products as possible in her cart and walking out without paying and without getting caught. Macan brazenly punctuated her theft admission by saying, "It's really fun," adding that she'd played the game once before and wasn't detected. The woman also claimed that she'd placed the pilfered items in a random car that was open. Upon learning that the police were on their way, Macan eventually admitted that she'd lied to the police and that the vehicle actually belonged to her boyfriend, adding that he wasn't aware of her illegal activities. She said, "My boyfriend doesn't know that I steal," before noting that she was going to be really in trouble with him. Aside from the items she'd stolen from Walmart, law enforcement discovered illegal drugs and paraphernalia inside the vehicle. Macan was found to be in possession of a digital scale, hashish, a glass pipe with burnt residue, and bags of marijuana, methamphetamine, and alprazolam. Additionally, the police recovered various precious metal bars from a locked safe. Macan's game resulted in her being arrested for theft, multiple counts of drug possession, and trafficking in methamphetamine. Number 7. Alice Wood. After attending a party in Henley, England, on May the 6th of 2022, Alice Wood and her fiancé, 24-year-old Ryan Watson, returned to their address in Cheshire. The couple had been dating since 2020 and they'd recently bought a £120,000 home together. Wood was a Manchester University philosophy student and had a scholarship for a part-time research master's at Cambridge, while her boyfriend was a support worker at Headway, a brain injury charity. On May the 6th, they'd attended a birthday party with Watson's colleagues. The couple, who'd both been drinking heavily during the event, began arguing. The reported crux of the dispute was Wood accusing her partner of clicking with another woman at the party. Wood, who was nearly double the drink-drive limit, drove herself and Watson home in the latter's car. Upon arrival, she exited the vehicle and got into her Ford Fiesta. In the moments that followed, the couple became engaged in what was described as a game of chicken, which was captured on CCTV. As Watson approached the Ford, Wood reversed the vehicle, nearly hitting him. She then rammed him head-on while he was on his phone, sending him flying onto the hood. After the man had risen to his feet, Wood drove at him a third time. She slammed her Ford into Watson and he became trapped under the bumper. Wood drove for over 500 feet along Sandback Road in the village of Road Heath. When she finally stopped, her fiancé's legs were sticking from underneath the vehicle and there was a pool of blood on the road. Wood then frantically knocked on a neighbor's door, telling them, "Please telephone an ambulance. I think I have run over my boyfriend." When the police arrived at the home, they found a distraught Wood on her living room sofa. Upon being taken into custody, she told officers, "It's fine, I deserve it." And during processing, she cried and reportedly pleaded with the police, "You should just shoot me in the head." In the aftermath, however, Wood denied manslaughter as well as murder. As her trial unfolded, the woman claimed that it was Watson who'd started the argument by accusing her of flirting with other men, and that she'd accidentally hit him with the vehicle while trying to get away from their home and drive to her mother's. The prosecution accused her of trying to manipulate the circumstances surrounding the incident by falsely pointing to Watson as the dispute's initiator. Prosecutors argued that she'd lost control during the row, culminating in her using her car as a weapon against her fiancé. A jury agreed and convicted Wood after only hours of deliberations. In January of 2024, she was sentenced to a minimum of 18 years behind bars. Number 6. Morgan Wallen. Country singer Morgan Wallen rose to prominence after appearing on The Voice in 2014, and his mainstream popularity gradually grew, culminating in the success of his 2023 album One Thing at a Time, which topped the Billboard 200 chart for 19 weeks. As his career gained momentum, Wallen was also involved in several arguably avoidable scandals. In May of 2020, he was arrested for public intoxication and disorderly conduct on Lower Broadway in Nashville, Tennessee, after kicking glass items at a steakhouse owned by fellow musician Kid Rock. As he was taken into custody, Wallen was also reported to have gotten into verbal altercations with onlookers. No charges were pressed in the incident. On January the 31st of 2021, the country superstar was recorded saying the N-word to one of his friends after a night out. It resulted in severe public backlash and him being suspended from his record label as well as from various country music associations. Wallen apologized and donated $300,000 to the Black Music Action Coalition. In the scandal's wake, on April the 7th of 2024, Wallen was again arrested on Lower Broadway after he flung a chair off a newly opened rooftop bar owned by country music singer Eric Church. 2 police officers were in the street when the chair hit the ground, 3 feet from them, from 6 stories above. Wallen, who'd reportedly thrown the chair for no legitimate purpose, was arrested and charged with 3 counts of felony reckless endangerment and 1 count of misdemeanor disorderly conduct. Number 5. Samuel Potter. In the spring of 2019, English rugby athlete Samuel Potter was participating in a drinking game in the garden of a house in Linden, Gloucester. The game was reportedly part of a rugby initiation ceremony that involved first and second year University of Gloucestershire students consuming alcohol mixes concocted by their third and fourth year peers. Copious amounts of beer and rum were drunk, alongside various food sources. 19-year-old Potter, a second-year film production student, took part in the games alongside 14 other students. On the evening of May the 8th, several of the participants went home, but Potter, who was severely intoxicated, remained at the address and fell asleep on the living room floor. The alarm was raised early the following day when friends were unable to wake him up. Paramedics were called and pronounced him dead at the scene. Subsequent tests revealed that he'd succumbed to alcohol poisoning. Potter had 362 milligrams of ethanol per 100 milliliters of blood, whereas the legal drink drive limit was 80 milligrams per 100 milliliters of blood. He was nearly 5 times over the legal limit. A subsequent investigation concluded that although there was an element of peer pressure to the ceremony, Potter had taken part in the ill-fated game of his own volition. Number 4. Amber Lewis. On the morning of April the 24th of 2019, Alabama woman Amber Lewis called Millbrook police to report that there was a burglar in her home. Deputies went to the address but found that the alleged intruder was actually the woman's husband. They subsequently discovered that 33-year-old Lewis had placed the call to get revenge on her partner for having an affair. The hoax backfired when law enforcement detected the pervasive odor of marijuana inside the home. Officers found marijuana, cocaine, and other drugs all over the property, including in the bedroom of the couple's child. Lewis was arrested and charged with making a false report to law enforcement, second-degree possession of marijuana, and chemical endangerment of a child. Her husband was also arrested for drug possession. When asked to speculate on how Lewis had imagined the outcome of her actions, Millbrook Police Chief P.K. Johnson told a local media outlet, "Your guess is as good as mine. What her goal was, I have no idea." Number 3. Rashed Brimage. A 92-year-old New York City woman, only identified as Geraldine, was pushing a shopping trolley while on her way to a pharmacy in June of 2020. As she walked near 3rd Avenue and East 16th Street in Gramercy Park, Manhattan, she passed 31-year-old Rashed Brimage, who was walking towards her from the opposite direction. In the moments that followed, CCTV captured Brimage extending his arm and shoving Geraldine's head without warning or provocation. The elderly woman lost her balance and fell, hitting her head on a fire hydrant. Brimage turned around and looked at her but continued walking. disappearing out of frame. Geraldine remained on the ground until a Good Samaritan called the emergency services and she was rushed to nearby Beth Israel Hospital. The former teacher, who'd lived in Manhattan for 50 years, was left bleeding from a head injury, but her condition wasn't reported as serious. Speaking to the New York Post in the incident's wake, she revealed that the attack had psychological ramifications as she was fearful of going out alone in her neighborhood. The police recognized Brimage from the security footage and arrested him in Harlem on assault charges. Brimage was a registered offender with 103 arrests on his record. When the New York Post ran the story of the attack on Geraldine, a still from the video surveillance was used on the front page, and Brimage was described as a menace to society. Some of his past offenses included exposing and fondling himself on an East Harlem street or grabbing a woman's behind at a 3rd Avenue deli, in addition to dozens of other petty crimes. Today's topic was requested by Nikki123BXD. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. David Forster. Englishman David Forster, a former soldier, was out with friends in the Newcastle city centre during a bachelor party on June the 18th of 2011. When the group went to Sam Jack's pub, they decided to test their strength on the venue's punch ball machine. 32-year-old Forster, who was also a former boxer, scored 900 out of 1,000 on the arcade machine but faced quick and dire consequences. The forceful blow split his hand open, leaving him bleeding profusely. The man was taken by ambulance to the Royal Victoria Infirmary, where it was determined he'd suffered severed tendons. He required 12 stitches and the insertion of a metal plate in his hand. He contracted an infection in the aftermath that resulted in him having plastic surgery to rebuild his hand. Forster was unable to work for over 6 months, had to undergo physiotherapy, and feared that he was going to lose his house as he was unable to pay his mortgage. In the aftermath, he sued Sam Jacks for £8,000 in damages for the injury. Lawyers for the pub claimed that Forster was drunk and that he'd missed the ball with his punch, hitting the machine's metal framework. The man's legal team, however, argued that CCTV footage showed he'd connected with the ball and walked away. The suit's outcome remained unclear. If you haven't seen it yet, then stay tuned after number 1, because we've got 12 bullies who got what they had coming to them lined up for you. Number 1. Jillian Medov incident. In 2013, British lawyer Jillian Medov went to Brazil to celebrate her 50th birthday alongside her husband Charlie and their 2 daughters. While in the state of Amazonas, the family was traveling by speedboat on the Rio Negro, heading to the luxury Juma Amazon Lodge located 60 miles southeast of the state capital, Manaus. At some point during the September trip, their boat stopped to refuel at a floating petrol station. The boat operator and another boatman then became involved in what Charlie later described as a stupid game of deer. Neither of the boatmen altered course while heading towards each other, and they collided. Jillian was killed instantly, while her daughter Alice, who was in her late teens at the time, suffered head injuries. Both boatmen were charged with manslaughter in the aftermath. In 2015, as he prepared to return to Brazil and give testimony at their trials, Charlie told a media outlet, "Sometimes it seems like it happened yesterday," adding, "Either pilot could have simply turned the wheel at any stage and my wife would still be alive." The men were found guilty of manslaughter that year and orderly travel. The company operating the boat tour admitted liability in 2016. On July the 29th of 2022, California man Omari Garland walked into the martial arts gym called Train for Life Center in Solano County and signed a waiver to train. The 30-year-old then picked on an opponent who was much smaller than him, according to an Instagram post by the gym. Unbeknownst to Garland, the smaller man was Terrence Saturn, a professional MMA fighter and one of the coaches at the facility. Garland told Saturn, "I'll beat you down," after which the two sparred. Saturn proceeded to land multiple forceful punches on the unwitting fighter, who called timeout with 1.5 minutes left in the first round. The fight was caught on video, which later went viral. After gym staff posted it, the individual recording the clip could be heard saying, "You come into my gym, you call out the smallest guy, and now you want to call a timeout." Eventually, Garland was asked to leave. Number 11. Paul Woodward. Paul Woodward, a 34-year-old Wolverhampton resident, was sentenced to 4 years in jail in February of 2023 for relentlessly bullying his ex-partner, both physically as well as mentally. Woodward's practices were exposed after police officers noticed worrying signs in his relationships with his girlfriend during a routine house visit after an argument between the pair in May 2021. When the officers finally got to talk to his partner alone, she confided in them that she had been abused and bullied by Woodward for months, with the attacks ranging from him stamping on her chest and grabbing her throat, to banning her from using her mobile phone without him being present to monitor her calls. Woodward went as far as to force the woman to attend work with him and prevented her from contacting her family, and he wouldn't even allow her to go to the bathroom on her own. Woodward was found guilty of causing actual bodily harm and engaging in controlling and coercive behavior in an intimate relationship. On top of the 4 years in jail, he also received a 10-year restraining order. Number 10. Man who bullied a dog. In a video that went viral in November of 2021, a man harassed a dog only to have another animal step in to stop him. It was unclear where the incident took place, but at the beginning of the video, the man appeared to pull the dog's ears, causing it to howl in pain. A cow suddenly intervened, pushing the dog away before mauling the man. The dog was freed while the man fell to the ground as the cow's onslaught continued. India Forest Service Susanta Nanda shared the video on Twitter, receiving at least 19,000 likes and more than 220,000 views. Nanda captioned the video with just a single word: karma. Number 9. Dutch instigator. A video of a physical altercation believed to have taken place in the Netherlands was uploaded to LiveLeak on November the 28th of 2016. A group of male teens were walking down the street, talking to one another. One of the boys, who was wearing green, shoved another member of the group who initially didn't respond. The instigator then kicked at the other boy's legs, but this time the victim made a half-hearted swing, as though attempting to deliver a punch, which prompted laughter from the rest of the group. The victim subsequently threw a single left hook after the bully dropped his guard, connecting with the teen's jaw and knocking him down to the ground unresponsive. As he regained consciousness, his friends laughed at him for losing the fight he'd instigated. A LiveLeak user commented on the video saying that the punch sounded like the bully's next dental bill. Another added that watching someone's attempt to bully another person suddenly backfire was one of life's finest pleasures. Number 8. Bullying a bull. During a bull running event in Castellón, Spain, on July the 4th of 2023, spectators were attacked by one of the animals. Crowds were congregating near Sarasate de Castellón Street to witness the stampede of beasts from the renowned José Arauzo de Ablitas branch. At one point, a bull came to a stop in the middle of the road where it was surrounded by clamorous spectators. People were reportedly trying to send the bull into a frenzy by shouting, waving, and banging their hands against the barricades. Moments later, one spectator took a long wooden stick and tried to jab the bull in the face. With a burst of speed, the enraged bovine suddenly leapt over the fence, sending the audience scrambling in horror to evade its charge. The man who incited the bull's anger quickly jumped over the fence to safety. Several others attempted to escape being mauled by the animal, including 61-year-old Fernando Miguel, who managed to squeeze himself through the barricades. He avoided the bull's horns, but the sheer force of the passing beast caused him to lose his balance, sending him toppling over backwards. After the back of his head hit the road, he was knocked out cold. Several onlookers subsequently ran over and carried him to safety. 82-year-old Teresa Martinez Pascual was also injured, suffering a stomach wound after the bull crashed into the protective barrier. She was transported to a nearby hospital where she was treated and successfully placed in stable condition. Meanwhile, Miguel, who suffered a severe cranial contusion, eventually regained consciousness. Fortunately, he avoided serious injury and didn't require further medical attention, so he was discharged from the hospital later that night. Number 7. Glenn Mould. 36-year-old Englishman Glenn Mould was jailed for life after clubbing a man to death at a home in Blackburn in December of 2010. Prior to the incident, Mould strong-armed his way into staying with Dominic Bibby after getting kicked out of his own place for defaulting on his rent. According to law enforcement, Mould began preying on Bibby, aged 31, not only for shelter but also for food. Bibby, who was vulnerable because of a previous assault in a separate incident, started becoming a victim of bullying at the hands of his involuntary roommate. In the weeks leading up to Bibby's death, Mould was physically abusing him. Officers believed that sometime between December the 17th and 20th, Mould carried out the killing after Bibby defied his orders to have his motorbike insured. Detective Superintendent Neil Hunter said that Mould chased Bibby through every single room of the house before battering him with a baseball bat. Hunter added that it was an evil crime during which the victim sustained at least 40 strikes. Bibby's lifeless body was found on December the 22nd. A few days later, Mould was arrested on suspicion of murder. Investigators said that the suspect had been picked on because of his facial deformity all his life. They added that the abuse he suffered had eventually turned him into a bully. Mould pleaded guilty to murder on July the 4th of 2011. He was ordered to serve 16 years before he could be considered for parole. Number 6. Served with a razor. A shocking video of a mother shaving her daughter's head as punishment for bullying went viral online in 2016. The girl was sitting on the floor screaming and covering her eyes as her mother shaved off large clumps of hair and threw them on the floor. The blonde-haired woman spoke calmly as she ran the electric razor up and down her daughter's head. In October of 2016, the footage had reportedly been viewed upwards of 13 million times on social media. The video's caption indicated that the girl was being punished for bullying another girl at her school who had cancer. However, another version of the video that surfaced more than a year earlier said that the student was being punished for uploading nude photographs online. Several people posted comments agreeing that whatever the real reason for the punishment was, the mother had acted inappropriately. One user wrote, "That went a bit too far." Number 5. Yuri. A Russian man, only identified as Yuri, was fatally trampled by a camel after he punched it at the Beryotska Recreation Center in the city of Omsk in January of 2023. The deadly incident began to unfold as the 51-year-old watchman approached the camel and, attempting to move the animal, pulled on its reins. However, Yuri struggled to move the camel, so he struck it in the face. When he tried to get the camel to move a second time, it wheeled around and grabbed the man with its teeth before flinging him around. Yuri was later found lying motionless in the snow, which was soaked in blood. He reportedly sustained severe trauma to his head and body. He was rushed to the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. According to E2W News, many people placed the blame for the incident squarely on the watchman for provoking the camel. Nevertheless, authorities decided to put the animal down to prevent future attacks. Number 4. Haley. In January of 2014, a North Carolina mother sparked outrage by shaming her teen daughter for participating in cyberbullying. Kara Schneider learned that her daughter Haley was tormenting others via the internet. The woman subsequently forced Haley to pose for a picture with a sign that said she was selling her iPod as punishment. The sign read, "I make poor choices with social media." It also mentioned that the money from the sale would be donated to the charity Beat Bullying. Cara then uploaded the photo to Facebook, and other online platforms disseminated it as well. When the post went viral, it received varying reactions from commenters. Some supported how Cara managed her daughter's punishment, but others believe that ironically enough, she was cyberbullying the teen by posting the picture. A Facebook user commented that humiliating a child to teach her not to humiliate other children was terrible parenting. Number 3. High school bully. A pugnacious high schooler was knocked out after trying to humiliate another student who was smaller than him. The incident, which took place at an undisclosed location in the US, was reported by the Daily Mail on June the 27th of 2016. The bully, who was wearing a red t-shirt, reportedly provoked the other teen, who began taking his shorts off before turning to face his tormentor and delivering a right hook. He followed the punch by tackling the other student to the ground. While the bully was lying on the floor of the school, the shorter boy punched him again. Meanwhile, other students watched on, shouting in shock and surprise. Number 2. Star. A Texas woman named Star made her 5th grade son wear a shirt that read, "I am a bully," to school on September the 14th of 2018 after she'd heard he'd been bullying other kids. The boy was a student at Greenleaf Elementary in Splendora. His teachers complained that he'd been calling classmates stupid and idiots, according to 5 News. After hearing this from the teachers, Star said that she wanted to do something that would teach the boy to take other people's feelings into consideration. She then spoke with school officials about making her son wear the shirt in question, and they reportedly supported the punishment. The school released a statement reiterating that parents have the right to make their own decisions about their children. The statement also mentioned that a counselor checked on the student throughout the day to make sure he was okay. In an update, Star said that her son had learned from what transpired, claiming that he'd already been treating his sisters and cousins better. Number 1. Jennifer Nelson. On October the 7th of 2022, Jennifer Nelson from Mastic Beach, New York, was accused of running over a teenager as revenge for the boy allegedly bullying and robbing her son. 35-year-old Nelson's lawyer, Paul D'Amelia, told the New York Post that the woman received a frantic telephone call from her son, who was being bullied and physically assaulted in the parking lot outside William Floyd High School. D'Amelia mentioned that Nelson's son had been bullied at school numerous times leading up to the day in question. When Nelson arrived at the scene a few minutes later, she found her son shoeless and surrounded by tormentors. According to Suffolk County District Attorney, Nelson confronted the teenagers with a knife and a bat. She then grabbed her son and went across the street to the school to file a complaint. After that, she ran over one of the bullies in the Manhattan Bagel Shop parking lot with her 2020 Honda Passport. She subsequently put the car in reverse and drove over the victim again. The boy sustained bruises, abrasions, a punctured lung, and fractures to his ribs and pelvis. Court records indicated that Nelson was arrested the following day. She was charged with attempted murder, assault, reckless endangerment, and leaving an accident scene that resulted in serious physical injury. Police later charged 2 teens in connection with the robbery of Nelson's son, but the hit-and-run victim wasn't named as a suspect. Nelson was later released on her own recognizance. As of the latest updates, Nelson had pleaded not guilty in February of 2023. Thanks for watching. Would you rather be a high-level professional athlete or a world-renowned musician? Let us know in the comments section below.